I'm Keisha Charmaine and I'm back, and I'm here to tell you all how I achieve and maintain bright colored hair. These are the steps that I take, so if you would like to hear what I do, stay tuned. So first, I like to start off with light hair. Naturally, my hair is black. As you can see, my roots, they're black, of course. But what I do to lift them is by using blonde dyes. Now, the reason why I use blonde dyes is because they have minimal bleach content in them compared to buying straight up bleach from the beauty supply store. Blonde dyes have the potential to lift your hair maybe 3 shades, 4 shades, something like that, while the other bleaches you may buy have potential to lift your hair maybe up to 7 or 8 shades. All of my professional colorists, please leave a comment below for specifics if you care to do so. It's easier to just get a box dye as opposed to, you know, having to mix the powder and all that, developer and stuff. I prefer to use blonde dyes. And yeah, check out my lock dye journey to see how I did that, how I lifted my hair with dyes and achieved red. Yeah, so start off with lighter hair. If you have naturally lighter hair, you are one step ahead of the game. The next recommendation that I have is for you to use semi-permanent colors. Now, there are some cons to using semi-permanent colors like bleeding, things like that. That's annoying. However, if you are, you know, if your main focus is to achieve the bright color, semi-permanent colors is gonna be your best friend, because for whatever reason, permanent dyes just don't seem to come in really bright pigmented colors, vibrant colors. However, semi-permanents do, especially when it comes to reds. Like you're gonna find a ton of bright reds across different brands of semi-permanent colors. And yes, I have used red permanent colors, but for whatever reason they just don't come out as bright as the semi-permanent colors do. Okay, now next step, when using your semi-permanent colors, I would recommend that you keep the color in your hair for longer than the box recommends. Do that at your own risk. I want to remind you that I'm telling you what I do. By no means am I a colorist, so I'm not telling you what you should do with your hair, but this is what I do, and this is what has been working for me for years. And my hair is long and strong. It is. Yeah, maybe the bottle may recommend 15 minutes, then maybe I'll keep it in for 45. I also choose to set it in a plastic bag. Sometimes I apply like artificial heat, like a blow dryer, and what that does is help the color set. Like you can just use a plastic bag on its own because your scalp is going to generate heat and help the color set. So when you're finally rinsing the color out, make sure that you use cold or cool water. If you're taking a shower, I understand cold water might be a little hard. Maybe not too hard around this time of year, but throughout the year that might be kind of hard. But try to rinse your hair with cool water as opposed to using hot water like you may tend to use when you're washing your hair. Hot water is going to make your hair color bleed more. Okay, so now I'm going to give you some tips on how I maintain the bright color. What I like to do is use a permanent dye on top of my semi-permanent color. So maybe I use a semi-permanent color in January. Maybe in February or March, I'm gonna use a close enough color in a permanent box and dye on top of my semi-permanent dyed hair. Does that make sense? And what I feel like that does, at least in my experience, that really helps the color to lock in and set in your hair. So when you dye your hair with a semi-permanent color, as you know, there are a certain amount of washes and then the colors should be washed out completely. When you color it with a permanent color on top of the rinse before your rinse is completely washed out, you're going to help the color to stay longer. That's from my experience. Again, I want to remind you, this is all from my experience. Okay, next step is that you can use shampoos that are not so stripping, like clarifying shampoos. They may be too stripping for your hair. Sulfate shampoos, they may be too stripping for your hair. You may want to even consider using shampoos that are created specifically for hair dyed in your color. So maybe you want to find shampoos that are for blonde hair. Maybe if you have blonde dyed hair. If you're red like me, you may want to find a shampoo that is designed for red hair. There's a difference between dyeing your hair blonde and dyeing your hair red, when you're dyeing your hair blonde, you're really lifting the color out of your hair. So you're taking away from your hair when you go blonde for the most part. When you're going red, you're adding to your hair. And as opposed to like brown dyes, the molecules in red dyes are larger. So that's why they tend to fade faster. That's why red dyed hair tends to fade faster, because the molecules are larger, so they don't adhere as well. Does that make sense? Okay. The next tip that I have that I do is I like to avoid apple cider vinegar rinses. I know that's really popular among people with natural hair and locks in particular, because it's so clarifying. You know, it gets all the dirt out, it gets all the product buildup out. However, it also gets rid of your semi-permanent color. So I would avoid using apple cider vinegar on your hair if you're trying to maintain bright dyed hair. And lastly, I recommend that you rinse your hair regularly. I mean semi-permanent dye your hair regularly. That may sound bad because you don't want to put all these chemicals in your hair. Please keep in mind that yes, no matter what chemicals you put in your hair, you are causing some damage to your hair, but keep in mind that semi-permanent dyes are a lot less harsh on your hair than permanent dyes. Make sure that you are doing a good job with your upkeep, with your conditioning, with your hot oil treatments should you decide to do those, and yeah, with your regular maintenance, yeah, make sure you take care of your hair. That's it. That's what I do. If you do anything different, leave a comment below. Let us all know what you do and what works for you. Again, this is what works for me. This is what works for me. This is what works for me. I'm not telling you what you should do. I'm not telling you what's the right thing to do. This is just my experience. That's what my channel is all about. Okay? Thanks for watching. Remember to thumbs the video up if you liked it. Share if you found it useful. Leave a comment below. Follow me on Instagram at Kelly Does That. Follow my shop's Instagram at LOCS. And check out my site, KeishaCharmaine.com. And I think that's enough. Okay. Thanks for watching. Love, light, and locks.